sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.
All right, welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be diving into, well, a YouTube video that one of you lovely listeners sent in about the law of assumption. It's based on the teachings of, have you heard of Neville Goddard?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. So it's based on his teachings. Now, you know, we're all probably familiar with like the idea of you attract what you focus on.
Right.
And kind of like the more you think about something, the more it'll show up in your life.
Yeah.
But Goddard, he kind of takes it like a step further with this law of assumption. He's like, no, we can like actually like shape reality by assuming that our desires are already fulfilled.
Right.
Like not even just like, oh, I'm working towards this. Like, no, it's already done.
Yeah.
And it's a law. It's not just some like airy-fairy, wishful thinking or like a hope.
Right.
It's a law. He calls it a law. And one of the things that I thought was so interesting about this video that you sent in was this idea of like living from the end result. Have you heard of that? Yeah. So it's basically like imagine like you already have what you want. Like you don't want it anymore. You have it.
Right.
And you're living like from that perspective.
Yeah.
And the question is like, does that actually work? Can that actually shift things? So we're going to like dive into that today and see what we can unearth about this whole concept. So I'm really excited. Whether you're like a skeptic or a believer, like let's just see what we can find out here.
Yeah.
So, okay, first of all, who is this Neville Goddard guy?
He was a mystic, kind of mid-20th century, Barbados born, but he really focused on the power of imagination and assumption, and he kind of interpreted biblical concepts through a mystical lens. Okay, interesting. And you know what's so fascinating is that his teachings, they still resonate with people today, decades later, So it's like, that's a testament to kind of like the enduring power of what he was talking about. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's like these concepts have stood the test of time, for sure. So, okay, let's break down this whole law of assumption. The video actually breaks it down into 12 steps, which we don't have time to go through all of them today. But before we even get into like the specifics of the steps, like what's the main idea? Well, I think like the core idea is that our beliefs, our assumptions, and particularly our emotions are really powerful forces that shape our reality, like literally the reality that we experience. It's not just, sitting on your couch, like wishing for things. Yeah. It's about, actively assuming, truly believing that your desired state is already a reality. As if it's happened.
I like that.
Right.
Okay. So it's like, it makes me think of that idea of planting a seed. Like you have a seed, you have, your assumption is the fertile ground and your desire is the seed.
Right.
But you have to like nurture it with belief in emotion for it to like actually sprout and grow into like your actual reality.
I love that analogy.
But so is it more than just visualizing though?
Exactly. That's the video really stresses that the feeling is the secret sauce.
Okay.
Like, it's not enough to just picture yourself, like, oh, I have this goal and I'm going to picture myself achieving it. You have to embody the feeling of having already achieved it. Think about it. Like, if you really truly believed deep down that you had already achieved something, wouldn't your actions and your choices like reflect that belief?
Yeah. Totally. It's almost like you're convincing your subconscious mind that it's already a done deal.
Exactly.
Great.
Yeah, it's aligning your inner world with your desired outer reality.
Yeah.
So, and the video, it goes into these 12 steps, like you said, to put this into practice.
Right.
But let's just highlight a few of them that I think are particularly like intriguing and actionable.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. One that really stood out to me was clarifying your desires.
Okay, so that seems pretty basic. But I'm guessing there's more to it than just like saying, oh, I want this.
Right. It's about specificity. Like the video really suggests writing them down, whether it's in a journal or, even a really detailed to-do list or creating a mind map or even building a vision board.
Oh, I love vision boards.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in those.
Yeah. I think there's something about putting it into words, into like a tangible form that makes it more real to your mind.
Totally. And then you see it every day. Like I have one like right over here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm working on this. So, okay. What's another step that we should highlight?
Well, visualization, but with a twist.
Yeah.
It's not just any visualization.
Right.
The video really stresses that you need to experience these visualizations from a first-person perspective.
Okay.
You're not just kind of like an observer watching yourself achieve the goal.
Yeah. You're fully immersed in the scene.
Okay.
Feeling the emotions.
Okay.
Engaging all your senses, like as if it's happening in that very moment.
I like that. Okay. This whole living from the end concept is super intriguing.
It is.
It sounds kind of counterintuitive, but I'm really curious to like explore how that actually works in practice.
Well, let's say, for example, you're dreaming of being a writer.
Okay.
So instead of just visualizing yourself holding your published book,
Right.
you start acting like a writer now.
Okay.
You know, you carve out time to write every day, even if it's just 15 minutes. You join a writing group. Maybe you go to some workshops.
Okay.
And you surround yourself with other writers. You're embodying that identity.
Got it.
Even before the quote-unquote success arrives.
Okay, so it's not just about like waiting for it to happen. It's like you're actively aligning your actions.
Yes.
With that reality that you want.
Got it. Okay. So this brings us back to that step that we touched on earlier, but I think deserves more attention, which is feeling is the secret.
Yes.
Why is the emotional aspect so crucial in this whole thing?
I think this is where the law of assumption really diverges from just positive thinking. You know, like by genuinely feeling the emotions associated with your desire as if it's already happened.
Okay.
You're sending this powerful signal to your subconscious mind. You're essentially saying like, this is real, this is my reality.
Oh.
And the more you embody that feeling, the more your subconscious starts to believe it.
Okay.
And then that influences your thoughts, your actions, and ultimately your reality.
So it's not about denying like current reality. It's about like choosing to perceive it through a lens where your desires have already happened.
Yes.
And then letting those feelings like guide your actions.
I think that's a really good way to put it, yeah.
Okay. I can see how that would be really powerful.
It's subtle, but it's profound.
Yeah. It's like training your mind to operate from a place of already having rather than wanting. Okay, but this all sounds great in theory.
Right.
But what about when like the doubts creep in? Because everyone has doubts, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's just part of being human.
Of course.
Like, so I think that's what like trips people up a lot with this stuff.
Well, the video addresses that. I mean, it says, you know, it's natural to be skeptical,
Right.
especially with something like as, you know, powerful as this this concept.
Yeah.
But it also makes some really like interesting arguments for why we shouldn't let those doubts like discourage us entirely.
Okay.
I think it emphasizes that it's about active engagement with the universe.
Okay.
Like by assuming our desired reality, even when we're like, you know, even in the face of doubt, we're sending out a really strong, clear signal. It's almost like declaring to the universe, like, I'm ready for this.
Okay.
Make it happen.
I like that it's like a bold statement.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'm not messing around.
Yeah.
I'm ready. And the video talks about testimonials too, right?
Oh, yes. It highlights all these stories from people who have actually seen like tangible results from this. Like, you know, people from all walks of life with all sorts of desires, but they talk about how like consciously assuming their desired reality led to some incredible transformations in their lives.
So it's suggesting that there's something to, even if we can't fully explain it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, we have to acknowledge that it's not always easy.
Of course not.
Right. Like, what about those times when we feel like we're doing everything right, but we're still not seeing the results?
Right. And this focus on feeling, right? Like, what happens if, like, you get stuck in this loop of feeling frustrated because your desires haven't manifested yet? Like, that frustration can be counterproductive.
Yeah.
You know, it's creating resistance rather than alignment.
Totally. Yeah, I think, like, so many people can relate to that feeling of, like, impatience.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you start doing this stuff and you're like, okay, when is it going to happen? So it seems like patience is key here, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And like realistic expectations.
Yes. And the video does say that, like, this is not about instant gratification.
Yeah.
It's a process.
Right.
It requires consistent effort, trust in the timing of the universe, willingness to let go of, like, that need to control every little detail of how things are going to unfold.
Okay, so it's not about forcing things to happen on our timeline.
Right.
It's about aligning ourselves with the natural flow of things. And trusting that, like, things are working out in our favor, even if we can't see it yet.
Exactly, yeah. And understanding that sometimes the universe might have a different and perhaps even better way of delivering our desires than we initially envisioned.
Okay, I like that. I'm getting a lot to think about here.
It's a lot to unpack.
Yeah. It seems like there's a lot of potential here. But it also requires a real shift in mindset.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a willingness to trust the process. Okay, is there anything else from this first part of the video that we should highlight?
Yes. One more step that I think is really crucial. It's creating a mental script.
Okay.
Like, it's almost like you're writing the story of your life as you want it to be. With, like, vivid scenes, dialogue, and of course, you know, you as the main character living out your desires.
I like that. Okay, so it's like you're taking those visualizations a step further and, like, giving them a narrative structure.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, and how does, like, the mental scripting tie into, like, the living from the end?
I think it reinforces that sense of already having what you want by, like, creating this detailed script. You're essentially programming your subconscious with the story of your desired reality. And the more you engage with that script, the more it starts to feel real, which then influences your actions and choices in the present.
Okay.
So it's all about building that belief, that certainty that your desired outcome is inevitable.
This is starting to feel less like woo-woo stuff.
Right.
And more like a practical guide to shaping our reality.
Yeah.
But I'm sure some of our listeners are like, okay, this all sounds good. But how do I actually put this into practice in my daily life?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's actually something we're going to delve into a lot more in the next part of our deep dive. We're going to explore some, like, really specific techniques and strategies for, like, how do you actually integrate these principles into your daily routine and how to overcome those inevitable challenges that come up along the way.
Awesome. So for all you deep divers out there, stay tuned for part 2, where we're going to get even more practical with this law of assumption. Me too. Welcome back to the deep dive. So we're continuing our exploration of the law of assumption, and this time we're going to get, like, practical. You know, like we've covered all the concepts, but now let's talk about, like, how do we actually integrate these principles into our lives?
Well, I think one of the most important things is self-awareness.
Okay.
You know, it's about, like, taking inventory of the assumptions that we're currently making about ourselves. You know, our lives, our relationships, our careers. Are these assumptions empowering us or holding us back?
That's a great point. It's like becoming conscious of the stories we're telling ourselves. And deciding if those stories are actually, like, serving our highest good, you know?
Yeah. And once we've kind of identified those assumptions, then we can begin to consciously shift them, to align with the reality that we desire, so we can, like, challenge those limiting beliefs and replace them with more empowering affirmations that support our goals.
So it's not just about, like, positive thinking. It's about actively choosing thoughts and beliefs that align with the outcomes that we want.
Right. And that's where the practical techniques that we were talking about, like visualization and mental scripting, come in.
Yeah.
Right? They're tools that we can actually use to, like, reprogram our subconscious minds and cultivate those beliefs that will support our manifestations.
It's like we're creating a new mental blueprint.
Yes.
For the reality that we want to experience.
Exactly. And the more we engage with that blueprint, the more real it becomes to our subconscious minds. Okay. Which then influences our thoughts and our actions and ultimately the reality that we manifest.
Okay, I like that. But as we mentioned earlier, you know, there are bound to be challenges along the way. Like doubts, setbacks.
Yes.
You know, those moments where we feel like we're not making progress.
Of course.
So how do we navigate those challenges and stay committed to this whole process?
Yeah, you're right. Challenges are definitely going to come up. It's easy to get discouraged when we hit a roadblock or when things don't unfold exactly as we envisioned.
Right. Yeah.
This is where I think the video's emphasis on revising our assumptions is really relevant.
Okay, so it's not about, like, denying the challenges. It's about reframing them.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's about using our imagination
Okay.
to kind of revisit past experiences, especially those that might have led to some of these limiting beliefs, and reinterpret them in a more empowering light.
Okay.
For instance, let's say, like, you have a fear of public speaking stemming from, like, a negative experience you had in the past, right?
Yeah.
Revision would involve kind of going back to that experience in your mind and finding a different perspective. Like, what did you learn from that experience? How did it shape you? You know, maybe it made you more resilient.
So it's not about erasing the past. It's about changing the story that we tell ourselves about it.
Exactly, yeah. And by changing the story, we can actually change, like, the emotional charge associated with it, which can then change our assumptions about what's possible for us in the future.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's a powerful way to, like, reclaim your power and release yourself from those limitations of the past.
Okay, I can see how that would be incredibly liberating.
Yeah.
But what about those times when we feel like we're doing all the right things, like we're visualizing, we're affirming, we're doing all this stuff, but we're still not seeing the results.
Right.
And then it's so easy to fall into that trap of self-blame. Like, oh, I'm not doing this right. Or maybe this whole law of assumption thing is just a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah. I think it's important to remember that, you know, the law of assumption doesn't operate in a vacuum. Right. There are so many factors influencing our lives, some of which are within our control and some of which are beyond our control. It's not about blaming ourselves for every setback or challenge. It's about recognizing that we have the power to choose our perspective and to focus on the reality that we want to create, even amidst, you know, all those difficulties.
Okay, so it's about taking responsibility for, like, our happiness and our well-being without, like, getting caught in that cycle of self-blame.
Exactly, yeah. And this actually brings us to another important concept that the video talks about, which is surrender. Okay,
surrender.
Yeah.
What does that have to do with actively shaping our reality?
Right. It seems kind of like a contradiction, right?
Yeah.
But it's about recognizing that, like, we can set our intentions, we can visualize our desires, we can take inspired action, but ultimately we have to trust that the universe has a plan for us.
Okay.
It's about letting go of that need to control every little detail of the manifestation process.
Yeah.
And having faith that things will unfold in the best possible way, even if it's not exactly how we envision them.
Okay. I mean, that could be a tough one though, right?
It is.
When we're, like, really attached to a specific outcome, it's like we have to be open to the possibility that the universe might have something even better in store for us.
You got it. Yeah.
Oh.
It's about trusting that everything is happening for our highest good, even if we can't see the bigger picture right now.
Okay, that's a beautiful way to look at it.
Yeah.
It makes me think of that saying, like, let go and let God.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So it's about, like, aligning ourselves with the natural flow of creation of the universe.
Yes.
And just, like, allowing things to unfold with ease and grace and all that. But, like, how do we actually cultivate that sense of surrender? Like, especially when we're feeling impatient,
right,
or doubtful.
Yeah, well, I think it starts with recognizing that surrender is not about giving up.
Okay.
Or becoming passive.
Right.
It's about consciously choosing to let go of that need to control every aspect of the manifestation process. So instead of focusing your energy on, like, micromanaging every little detail, you're focusing your energy on aligning with your desires.
Okay.
And trusting that the universe will handle the details.
So it's about taking, like, inspired action while also releasing attachment to a specific outcome.
I think that's a great way to put it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about finding that sweet spot between effort and allowing.
Okay. I can see how that could be really liberating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you're taking the pressure off yourself and allowing, like, the universe to work its magic.
Exactly. And that trust, that surrender can open us up to possibilities that we might not have even imagined if we were too busy trying to control everything.
Wow. Okay, this is giving me a whole new perspective on manifestation.
It is a shift in mindset.
Yeah, it's not just about visualizing and affirming. It's about, like, aligning our thoughts and actions and energy with our desires and trusting that the universe will support us in making them, you know, come true.
Absolutely. And remember, consistency is key. Just like building any new habit, cultivating these principles, it takes time.
Yeah.
It takes effort. There will be days when you feel really inspired and motivated.
Right.
And there will be days when you feel discouraged or doubtful.
Right.
But the key is to just keep coming back to your intentions. Keep nurturing that seed of your desire with belief and emotion, and trust that the process is unfolding perfectly.
Yeah.
Even when it doesn't feel like it.
So it's about embracing the journey.
Yes.
The ups and downs, the moments of inspiration and the moments of doubt. It's about trusting ourselves, trusting the process, and knowing that we have the power to create the reality that we want.
You got it. It's about recognizing that we are powerful creators.
Okay.
And that the universe is conspiring with us to bring our dreams to life.
This has been so insightful. We've covered a lot of ground. But I'm sure our listeners still have more questions.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
So,
and we'd love to dive into some of those questions in the next part of our deep dive.
Awesome. So stay tuned, deep divers. Yeah. Because in part 3, we'll be answering your questions.
Yes.
And offering even more practical tips for mastering this whole manifestation thing. All right. Welcome back to the deep dive. We're wrapping up our exploration of the law of assumption. And we've talked about the principles. We got into some techniques like the visualization, the scripting, all that. But now I want to address some of the questions that you guys sent in.
Yeah.
About this concept, because I know it can be a little mind-bendy.
It is.
So one of the big questions that came up, and this is one that I've thought about too, is the role of action.
Right.
If we're putting so much emphasis on our thoughts and our feelings, do we even need to do anything?
Yeah.
To make this stuff happen?
It's a really common question.
Right.
And I think it's easy to get caught up in the inner work and wonder if that's enough,
Yeah.
But what's your take on that?
I think it's both, I think the inner work is crucial.
Yeah.
But I also think that action is important.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
I agree. I think it's a common misconception that the law of assumption is about passivity. Right? While it emphasizes the power of our inner world, action is still a crucial part of the equation.
Okay, so it's not about just sitting back and wishing.
Right.
It's about aligning our actions with that reality that we're trying to create.
Exactly. I like to think of it like this. Your thoughts and feelings kind of create the blueprint.
Okay.
But action is what brings that blueprint to life in the physical world.
Okay.
So they work together, they work in tandem.
Okay, that makes sense. So if I'm visualizing myself in, I don't know, a new job, I also need to be updating my resume, networking, putting myself out there, applying for those positions.
Yeah.
My actions need to reflect that I'm already on that path.
Exactly. Action is the bridge between that inner world of our assumptions and the outer world of our experiences.
I like that. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So another question that we got a lot of is about dealing with doubt.
Of course.
We talk about choosing empowering beliefs and all that. But what do you do when those pesky doubts just creep in and try to sabotage all your efforts?
That happens to all of us.
Right.
Doubt is just a natural part of being human. Doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong.
Right.
Or that the law of assumption isn't working.
Okay.
The key is to not let those doubts take over.
Okay, so how do we manage those doubts without suppressing them or letting them just spiral out of control?
I think one approach is to simply acknowledge them without judgment. Just say to yourself okay, I'm feeling doubtful right now. That's understandable. It doesn't mean I'm failing. It's okay.
Okay.
That just create some space for the doubt, without giving it too much power.
That's a great tip. It's like recognizing it's there.
Yeah.
But not letting it take over the whole show.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, what else can we do?
I think once you've kind of acknowledged the doubt, then you can gently redirect your focus back to your desired outcome.
Okay. So
remind yourself of your affirmations, visualize your goals, reconnect with that feeling of having what you want.
Okay, so it's we're training our minds to focus on the positive rather than getting stuck in the negative.
Exactly. It's like building a mental muscle. Yeah. The more we practice redirecting our focus, the easier it becomes to manage those doubts.
Makes sense. And I think another way to look at it that might be helpful is instead of seeing doubt as like a failure.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I should be doubting.
Right.
What if we like reframe it as an opportunity for growth?
I love that.
Like maybe that doubt is a sign that we need to like clarify our desires or adjust our approach or just like strengthen our belief.
Yes, exactly.
So it's not a bad thing.
It's feedback.
Yeah, it's like information.
Just information, yeah.
Okay, I like that. All right, before we wrap up, I want to circle back to this whole idea of surrender.
Yes.
Because a lot of people were asking about that.
It's a tricky one.
Yeah, because it seems kind of passive, right? But we're talking about actively shaping our reality. So how do we like reconcile those two things?
Well, I think it's important to remember that surrender is not about giving up or becoming passive.
Okay.
It's about releasing the need to control every aspect of the manifestation process.
Okay.
So, we can set our intentions, we can take inspired action, but ultimately we have to trust that the universe has a plan for us.
Yeah.
It's about having that faith that things are going to work out in the best possible way, even if it doesn't look exactly how we initially pictured it.
So it's like we're taking action, but we're also letting go of like the need to micromanage the outcome.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
Okay.
It's that trust, right? It's that surrender that can be so liberating because it allows us to just kind of release the stress and the worry and just enjoy the journey.
It's like saying, okay, universe, I've done my part. I trust you to handle the rest.
Yeah. And remember, surrender is a choice.
Yeah.
It's something that we can choose to do.
Every day.
Every day, yeah.
Moment to moment.
Yeah. We can choose to hold on really tightly to our expectations, or we can choose to just like loosen our grip a little bit and trust the unfolding.
Okay. Wow. This deep dive has given me so much to think about.
It's a lot.
It's more than just like a set of techniques. It's like a whole new way of looking at the world and our place in it.
It is about recognizing that we are not just passive recipients of fate.
No.
We are active participants in creating our reality.
That's powerful. Well, I hope that our listeners feel empowered to try out these principles.
Me too.
In their own lives and see what happens.
Absolutely.
So yeah, remember, like the power to shape your reality lies within you.
Yeah.
Trust your intuition, take inspired action, surrender to the unfolding of your dreams, all that good stuff.
That's all, Jenny.
It is. All right. That's a wrap on this deep dive into the law of assumption. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.